The United States of America is a rogue state. That is what Donald Trump's decision to impose sanctions on the International Criminal Court underlines. Last November, the ICC issued arrest warrants against the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, and his former Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, for war crimes and crimes against humanity. That came after a very long process. It had to go through judges from different countries. It had to first as well go through a legal panel of preeminent lawyers. It was last May, a very long time ago, when the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Karen Khan, issued requests for those arrest warrants against Israeli leaders and Hamas leaders. Now, there are 125 countries on earth parties to their own statutes, which established the ICC back in 1998. While the vast majority of Western states signed up, like the UK, France, Germany, the United States voted against their own statute. Why? Because the world's only superpower knew its behaviour across the world involved an array of war crimes and quite rationally feared its military personnel and political leaders could face legal action for committing war crimes. This was before Iraq and Afghanistan and all that, by the way. Now, Israel too refused to sign up to the court. Don't need to guess why. But the state of Palestine, which is recognised by most countries on earth, was accepted as a member in 2015. That meant that the ICC had jurisdiction for crimes committed in the state of Palestine and also crimes committed by those from the state of Palestine. Now, just as Russia has refused to ratify their own treaty, that doesn't matter because Ukraine has ratified their own treaty. That's why the ICC issued arrest warrants for Vladimir Putin in March 2023, as well as the Russian Commissioner for Children's Rights for the war crime of unlawful deportation, transfer of children, as well subsequently as Russian military figures. Russia might not be a signatory, but Russia has committed grave war crimes in Ukraine. That's what matters because Ukraine's a signatory. In just the same way, Israel might not be a signatory to the ICC, but that's irrelevant. It's committed war crimes and crimes against humanity in a territory where the ICC has jurisdiction, the state of Palestine. And that jurisdiction is also why the ICC issued arrest warrants for Hamas leaders, all of whom have since been killed by Israel. The ICC doesn't have its own police force. Instead, its member states are obligated to act on the arrest warrants, not least if those subject to its arrest warrants land on their territory, arrive in their territory. We'll come on to that. Now, Trump's executive order places financial and visa restrictions on ICC staff and anyone assisting ICC investigations against the US and its allies, claiming the ICC is guilty of illegitimate and baseless actions targeting America and our close ally Israel, claiming Israel is a democratic state whose military strictly adheres to the laws of war. Well, this is clearly completely and utterly deranged. Donald Trump has spent the last few days justifying the ethnic cleansing of Gaza on the grounds it's hell on earth, is a demolition site, as he said, inhospitable to life. The only explanation for that is because Israel carpet bombed Gaza, which is how Joe Biden described it. The man who armed the carpet bombing, that itself is a grave war crime. Now, two US government agencies concluded last April Israel was deliberately preventing the essentials of life from getting to the people of Gaza, the main plank of the current ICC case, I should note, and that is a war crime. While Israeli leaders and officials made clear from the beginning they were committing war crimes as well. It is exceptionally rare for criminal intent in such circumstances to be so brazenly and repeatedly and unapologetically stated. Like the Minister of Defense, Yoav Gallant, of course, subject to an arrest warrant from the ICC, who declared on 9th of October 2023 that Israel was imposing a complete siege on Gaza. No electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals and we are acting accordingly. Or indeed, the Israeli general Ghassan Alian, who is in charge of Kogat, the Israeli military civilian arm, who said on the same day, Hamas became ISIS and the citizens of Gaza are celebrating instead of being horrified. Human animals are dealt with accordingly. Israel has imposed a total blockade on Gaza. No electricity, no water, just damage. You wanted hell, you will get hell. Making clear no distinction there existed in the minds of the Israeli authorities between the civilian population and military targets. The civilian population had collective guilt in their mind, and they would suffer collective punishment, which he made clear there in no unsubtle terms. They made clear from the start they were going to commit hideous war crimes. To find them guilty, you just need to read out what they said. We could go on. Now, the threats to the ICC are long-standing. Joe Biden denounced the ICC when the chief prosecutor first made his requests. Last May, Republican senators sent the ICC chief prosecutor a letter threatening him and his staff, declaring, target Israel and we will target you, adding they will sanction your employees and associates and bar you and your families from the United States, concluding, you have been warned. Let's call these people what they are, gangsters. Now, Karim Khan, the chief prosecutor, was asked about this by CNN's Christiane Amanpour last year.
You have been warned. Is that a threat?
I think that's the plain meaning of it in English. But, there's hotheads everywhere, and there's people that are mature statesmen and stateswomen and leaders. There are those that have fidelity to something greater than themselves, whether it's their constitutions, but ultimately it's the rule of law. Now, of course, this situation, unfortunately, lies on the San Andreas fault of international politics and strategic interests. And of course, I've had some elected leaders speak to me and be very blunt. This court is built for Africa and for thugs like Putin, was what one senior leader told me. We don't view it like that. This court is the legacy of Nuremberg. This court is a sad indictment of humanity. This court should be the triumph of law over power and brute force. Grab what you can, take what you want, do what you will, and we're going to simply be we're not going to be dissuaded by threats or any other activities, because in the end we have to fulfill our responsibilities as prosecutors, as the men and women of the office, as judges, as the registry, to something bigger than ourselves, which is the fidelity to justice. And we're not going to be swayed by the different types of threats, some of which are public and some maybe are not.
Very instructive what he was told there. This court is built for Africa and for thugs like Putin. And that sums it up. The West can behave as it so wishes. It is above the law. It has impunity. Now, as is, some Western signatories to the ICC have said they're going to refuse to act on these arrest warrants, like Italy, like France, like Poland. Britain has been not exactly clear. They're willing to destroy whatever remains of the world order to protect Israel from the charge of genocide. What does all this mean for the ICC? Well, let's listen to this former ICC official, Eric Ritter, on Al Jazeera.
Given the US and Israel don't recognize the authority of the ICC, what effect will sanctions actually have, and how soon?
Well, a lot depends on whether the 125 countries that are party to the Rome Statute, which created the ICC, choose to block the worst effects of this action. But if they don't defend the court, this executive order poses an existential threat to the ICC's ability to function, not just in the situation of Palestine, but really in all situations before the court, including Ukraine, Myanmar, Sudan, Afghanistan, and others. Governments and companies may try to support just the Ukraine investigation, for example, but services like banking services or provision of software can be used by the court across situations. And so companies and governments may choose to try to avoid providing those services, or individuals may choose to avoid providing support to the court out of fear of retribution from the US government. This threatens the ICC's ability to hire and retain staff. Again, though, there are actions the member states can take to defend the court. And I think the onus is particularly on the European Union here. And it's good to hear Ursula von der Leyen rhetorically commit to defending the court. But will the Commission issue a blocking statute to nullify the effects of this executive order and the territory of the European Union?
I just want to end here, actually, by just noting the role of so-called liberals. Look, I'm not a liberal. I'm a socialist. But where are all these self-described liberals? What's more liberal, supposedly, than defending international law, the rules-based order, the rule of law? So many of them, so often self-righteous, like to see themselves as the good guys in the episode of The West Wing that they clearly all think they live in. Yet many of them are actively complicit. Where are their great polemics, their searing speeches defending liberalism and the liberal order, the rule of law? The utter bankruptcy of Western liberalism has been brutally exposed by this genocide. And it has essentially just willingly killed itself off in favour of the rise of right-wing authoritarianism. Very instructive, isn't it? And the truth is the US is a declining power. It's a superpower in crisis. Trumpism is a morbid symptom of that crisis. I would also say an accelerant. The case against Israel is overwhelming. It is guilty of some of the worst crimes of our age. And Trump and other Western leaders are complicit in those crimes. And justice must come to them as well. Please like and subscribe with your thoughts, your comments. Help us as we expand this challenge, which is what this is, to a bankrupt mainstream media. You can see us expanding all over Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Do I have to call it X? That's thanks to you, patreon.com/7days84. We will do best we can to present a growing challenge. I do have to write a book at the moment called The Fall of the West, notably, but that alongside this, and then when I get that done, we'll expand even more. Anyway, take care. Speaking a bit.